the FBI is not in the business of functioning as the truth police.
Understood.
So we don't tell social media companies to censor anything.
Well,
or remove
the Twitter
account
files
information.
suggest something different. You're saying it doesn't happen, but there's evidence that it had.
We don't tell social media companies to ban accounts.
But you suggest.
What we do is tell social media companies about information that we have about foreign disinformation campaigns by foreign actors, by foreign intelligence services.
FBI Director Christopher Wray joined Fox News' Bret Baier yesterday to mislead the American people. Now, we can say this with confidence because we know the FBI instructed big tech to censor Americans online. The Twitter files and the depositions in the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit tell us that. In fact, if you take a look at the deposition of CISA's Brian Scully, in it, Brian admitted to having regular conference calls with Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft, Google, Reddit. He then goes on to admitting that the FBI had people on those calls as well. He claims that there were one of 2 FBI agents on the call. He even admits that Elvis Chan, an FBI agent, was in some of those meetings. We also know, based on testimony in Twitter files, emails, that once the FBI flagged posts for social media platforms like Twitter, the post or the account was quickly suspended. But that wasn't all we learned from Wray's sit-down with Bret Baier. Take a listen to Wray deliver an update of sorts on why the RNC and DNC pipe bomber hasn't been called yet.
Well, I will say that I have enormous confidence in the team, the dedicated team that is focused exclusively on that investigation, and we have devoted loads and loads of effort into that specific investigation. We've done investigative publicity, calling for the public's help. And so our folks are working very, very hard on that investigation. And those folks, those FBI agents, analysts, and professional staff, I have total confidence in them.
And joining us now to react is the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. Congressman, it's good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Now, Chairman Jordan, Wray in that interview declared a number of statements that are verifiably false. I just, shared a little bit about from the Twitter files and the transcripts of Missouri versus Biden. So my first question to you is, have you scheduled the FBI director to come in soon to testify under oath?
We don't have it officially scheduled, but we have issued subpoenas. And in fact, there's supposed to be information coming to us tomorrow that we've asked for relative to the whole FBI and Department of Justice treating moms and dads as domestic terrorists, if you remember the whole school board issue from about a year and a half ago. So we have requested that information. But you're exactly right. And he's for the FBI director to say they weren't pressuring social media. We have emails from the Twitter files that say, FBI, it says, Twitter folks, this is from Elvis Chan, Twitter folks, we think the following accounts violate your terms of service, Twitter's terms of service. And do you need us to issue you a preservation letter? Because we think we're going to service on these accounts. Like, if that's not pressure to take some accounts down, I don't know what is. And I think Professor Turley maybe said it best when he said this was censorship by surrogate. The government was pressuring these social media companies to take down certain posts, certain accounts, certain tweets in the case of Twitter. And I think that's just as wrong as it gets. So for him to say that, I think makes no sense doesn't square with the facts.
Now, let me ask you, you sent out subpoenas related to the targeting of parents. What about more J6 issues like the FBI agents in the crowd? Specifically, do you plan to hold a hearing where you will demand answers from Wray on how many federal agents, contractors, or other individuals connected to the FBI, DHS, CIA, or any other government entity were actually in the crowd?
What we've been doing is talking with FBI agents who've come to us as whistleblowers. We've now deposed 3 FBI agents who've taken whistleblower status with us. So they talk a lot about the January 6th and the pressure the FBI is under to catalog and categorize almost every case as a domestic violence extremism case. So, and one of those whistleblowers in particular talked a good deal about how the FBI operated and pressured field offices to treat anyone associated with January 6th. So we're compiling that information. If we would bring Chris Wray in, he'd give the same answer. And I thought Bret Baier did a good job, by the way. I think he'd give the same answer to us that he's given in hearings before and that he gave to Bret Baier. He wouldn't answer the question when you specifically asked were there informants or undercover agents there on January 6th. So we're going to continue to do our investigation, get the facts, get the information from whistleblowers and others who we talk to in the course of our work.
And when will some of those whistleblowers testify publicly in an open committee hearing?
We anticipate that happening. We're still putting all that together. As I said, 3 of them have talked to us. We have more folks that we want to bring in and talk to on whistleblowers and just other witnesses that we think are important to get the full picture of what was going on with regard to the run-up to the 2020 election, the run-up to the 2022 election, with January 6th, and a host of other ways that we think the government has been, as I've said many times before, where the government's been turned on the very people it's supposed to represent.
I want to ask you about staffing with this select committee on the weaponization of the FBI. Now, you've been given basically the funds, right, that the J6 committee had, and the former Church committee had 150 plus staffers. We've heard that this weaponization committee, subcommittee, is currently without staffers, experienced lawyers, or other experts that say the J6 committee had. So what is your plan for staffing up? And why not, I guess, just use the model of the J6 committee?
Well, yesterday we just went in front of the House Administration Committee to approve our budget for the full Judiciary Committee and the Select Committee. But we've increased it $4 million from the previous budget, and we have $15 million in reserve to help us as we staff up to do the work that the American people expect us to do. So I'm not concerned about that. We're staffing up as we speak, and I think we got the best staff on Capitol Hill. I mean, these are the same lawyers and staff who were there to help defend President Trump when the Democrats did their crazy impeachment a few years ago. So I feel very confident about that. And we're going to move forward. We're going to get to the facts and the truth and make sure the American people get that information. And then more importantly, or as importantly, we're going to propose legislation which we think will help remedy the problem, help fix the concern where we see, as I said before, these federal agencies targeting the American people who they're supposed to be serving.
So what would that legislation look like?
Well, there's different areas. Like some people said, do you look at the 2 missions the FBI has? They're supposed to solve crime, but then they have this intelligence mission. And the intelligence mission seems to be where so many of the problems have arisen, particularly when you think about the FISA court. So we got part of the FISA reauthorization coming up this year. We think there has to be changes there. Another one that just jumps in my mind all the time is, my guess is those 51 former Intel officials who signed that now famous letter where they said the laptop story has all the earmarks of a Russian information operation, which we know was false and been proven false. My guess is all 51 of those individuals probably still has a security clearance. Well, maybe there's a valid reason for that, but I kind of wonder, why should people who are no longer in the government maintain a security clearance? I mean, do they use it to go talk to the people who have a security clearance who are working in the government? Is that something that is beneficial to them in a monetary way? I don't know, but I sort of think that's a fundamental question. So maybe some of the things we put forward in legislation is, once you leave government, you don't keep your security clearance forever, for goodness sake. So those are the kind of practical things I think we need to look at. Maybe some reforms when the FBI is interviewing people. They just take down the notes. Maybe if they had to have an audio tape of that interview, you think about what they did to Michael Flynn. So number of things that we're looking at as we go through our investigation that we think will help make things better for we the people as we go forward.
So can you really make these reforms when you have GOP senators in the Senate giving the FBI, doubling their budget and giving them a new office?
Look, all we can do is get the facts on the table. That's step one in stopping this egregious behavior, doing our constitutional duty to do the oversight, to do the investigations we have to do, and then propose legislation that we think would help remedy the situation. That's what we're going to do as a legislative body, as a separate and equal branch of government. That's our job. That's our constitutional function and duty. So we're going to do that. We're going to do it the best we can. And then we'll push that legislation, and hopefully the American people will encourage their senators, if we get to that point, to encourage the senators to pass that legislation.
One last quick question. I want to ask you a follow-up on the whistleblowers.
Sure.
How are you going to protect them from retaliation?
Well, we think it's already happened, unfortunately, with some, based on what they've told us, based on, as I said, the transcribed interviews we had with these individuals. So that's not supposed to happen. I think it's interesting. When I first talked about this, I did an interview and first talked about the whistleblowers, the dozens who've come forward and talked to us. First talked the very next day. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, issues a memo, sends out a memo saying, here's the rules for talking to Congress. And then, of course, he puts sort of the little disclaimer language down at the bottom and says, now, this is not to jeopardize whistleblower. We want to respect that. But I thought the timing was interesting. The very next day, he sends out this memo to folks in the Justice Department, I think trying to, again, chill the speech of FBI agents who want to come forward and tell us some of the crazy things that are going on.
Chairman Jordan, thank you for joining us.
You bet. Thank you, Emerald.